All right. Good afternoon, everybody. We're going to just get things coming in. Letting everybody in. Hey, Susie, do you have access to click people in? Okay, perfect. All right. I'm going to minimize us. All right, well, we're 12 o'clock on the dot, folks. Welcome to our Firefly seminar, webinar, whatever we're doing here. I will be very candid with you. We are new to this, so we should have a pretty good understanding of this. So if there's any technical difficulties, we apologize ahead of time. Presenting to you today, I am Jennifer Moss with Moss Greenhouses and Rooted in Solutions. I also have Ryan Dowdy with me. He is our production manager at Moss. But we've also got the geniuses over at Raker Roberta. We've got Susie Raker with us, as well as Jarvis Green. And today we are going to kind of really dive into fireflies and what they can do for your garden center in 2025. So that said, we don't want to take up too much time going through too many introductions, because we want to get right into the materials, because we know you guys are going to have a lot of questions. So that said, the first thing I'd like to do is say thank you so much to everybody who has already committed to the program. This is a big, risky, scary thing, and we want to really, help illuminate some of your doubts and concerns in today's webinar, as well as help get you excited about this, because we've got a year under our belt doing this, and we were skeptical too. So we understand. So let us help answer those questions for you. So first, I'd like to introduce the Firefly Petunia. And what the hell is it, right? We know it glows in the dark, and that's about every, what most people know. All right, so it is the first of its kind. All right, so it's exciting, it's new, and I will be very candid with you. It is a Generation 1 plant. All right, guys. It has a lot of room for improvement, but it has a lot of excitement in the market, and we're moving forward with that. But I do want to stress what the Firefly is not. It is not another white petunia. So we don't want you to treat it as just another white petunia. We have been stressing that with everybody we've talked to that has committed to grow it or supply it in their retail garden center. And we really want to just stress that this is not just another petunia. It is something very exciting, and the public wants it. All right, so what's the actual science of the Firefly? All right, so I'll be the candid. I run a greenhouse. I don't grow. Okay, so I'm not the scientist behind this. Neither's Raker, but there are some brilliant people in the room. So with that said, what the breeder was able to do is he isolated the enzymes that carry the bioluminescence in the fungus family, and he figured out how to deploy that into the petunia gene. And it's created the glow that you see in this picture here. All the pictures that you're going to see either come from Light Bio or from us at Moss or at Raker. And so these are all pictures that we have taken. Nothing is edited. Everything is exactly as you see on the screen. And so there's no need to charge these. They are literally glowing from the enzymes that are working through the plant. Now, the thing that a lot of people don't realize is this plant glows at every part that the plant is putting energy. So when you see in this picture that you've got on the screen in front of you, that is actually a petunia bud just glowing its little head off. But you also see that the stem is glowing. Even the roots glow. So it is a really interesting plant. The product is protected by 4 different utility patents, and there are more in the works. So this is ironclad and buttoned up completely. Now go for
Jen,
it.
can I hop in real quick?
Help yourself, Suze.
Hi, Susie Raker. So to talk a little bit about the science and, one of the biggest questions I get in regards to this is why a petunia first? And the reason for the petunia first is on a lot of different levels, but it's because the biggest is because the plant is always actively growing. And so the glow is tied to the metabolism of the plant. So when we're propagating this plant, we see a lot more glow in the roots because that's what we're trying to get. And then the reason that the petunia was the first introduction is because once this baby goes reproductive, she is throwing buds and blooms like nobody's business. So the plant is always actively growing, always actively metabolizing. So that's the easiest way that I have used to describe that. Now, to take that comment a little bit further, people ask, well, what's coming? And I would love to open up this conversation, not right now, at the end or in the chat box, but to what you would love to see this science and technology used in, because it works with all plants. But remember that it has to work in plants that are actively growing all the time. So somebody tossed out an agave at me and I'm like, yeah, that one's not going to work because an agave gets to a certain point and it just kind of sits there. So one of the stipulations of a variety or a genre, it has to be something that actively grows. So anyway, I just wanted to add a little bit to what Jen had to say.
Oh, that's perfect because that is going to be a question that I get all the time as well. It is really important that if something is actively growing because that's where the plant's putting its energy. All right, so it is domestic supply chain currently. We are working on getting it and I actually won't speak to that, Susie will, but we are working on getting it across a couple of borders because I know it's really important to several people to get it outside of the US. So we're working on that, but right now it is domestic supply chain only.
And the
All
reason
right.
for that and the reason for that domestic supply chain is because it is a genetically modified organism. So there is a lot of government regulations that get in our way, especially when you start talking about unrooted cuttings offshore, etc. I want you guys to know that we are thinking about that. We are working on that, but with a genetically modified organism, it's not quite as easy as just sending tissue culture to a farm and away you go, and you have a stock base. So
Yeah, all of us could have a different government conversation about the speed of their business, but we'll leave that for the professionals in the White House. So, who is Light Bio and the breeder? I think that that's important to know because nobody knows who Light Bio is. So, Light Bio is the actual company. It's the biotech company that's responsible for the breeding of the Firefly Petunia. So, Dr. Keith Wood is actually in the picture here. Keith he doesn't like to go by doctor, so you will hear me refer to him as Keith. Keith actually lives just an hour north of Moss Greenhouses. That's how we even got involved. He does want us to kind of stress that the tagline that Light Bio is going to be using is the plant you will love the most. So you will see that in some of our marketing as we go through this presentation. But this is Keith at our unveiling of the Firefly last May in 2024. All right, so I'm going to hand this off to Susie about who's who in the Firefly game.
So I'm going to tell you a little story, and I will introduce who these players are on this page. So the product was brought to Raker Roberta's Young Plants in October of 2023. The product had just been deregulated by the USDA, and the team at Light Bio we had been recommended to the team at Light Bio as a team that was willing to take a risk and a team that was young, dumb, and hungry. And so Keith came to us in October and said, I need to bring this product to market. And I've been told that your team may be the one to help us. And so in that day meeting with them, we developed a plan for a website, and Raker is very efficient and good at producing plants and shipping them direct to homeowners. That is a big part of our business here at Raker that most people don't know about. We're known for our young plant business. So long story short, we produced a forecast and we said we could get you 30,000 units. The math, it gave them enough cash flow to be able to continue what they were doing, etc. Well, once the sales hit, we sold out of that forecast within a couple of weeks. Long story short, we ended up selling over 120,000 plants via their website. So it was a great success. I then went out to visit Keith in April and to talk to him about what are you doing with this product? What do you want to do with this product? Because we are already behind the 8 ball for planning for spring of 2025. So I laid out a bunch of different potential scenarios that he could do. He could sell the genetic to a breeder. He could license it to a plant development company, etc. Well, long story short, he asked me what I would do with the product. And of course, I had thought about that. I've been in this industry a long time, and I had some ideas and laid out a plan for him. And he goes, I would really, really like to work with you and you and whatever team you decide to put together. This product deserves to be done differently, and it deserves a different approach. And so from that point, Rooted in Solutions was born, which is the company that holds the licensing and distribution rights for Firefly Petunia and other products as we continue to develop. Raker Roberta's Young Plants, we've been in business for 40 plus years, since 1978, which is actually before I was born, just to note. But we are a young plant producer in Michigan, and that is another hat that I wear regularly, along with Jarvis, who will be talking later a little bit about plant culture. Right now, the role that Raker is playing is we are doing fulfillment for e-commerce. I will talk a little more specifics about what's going on in e-commerce later. But we are also producing liners for the trade. Raker will be a part of this puzzle for a while, but it's not going to be the only propagator long term. We have the opportunity, and we're working really hard to diversify the product line so that it's not just Firefly Petunia, but eventually we have a line of perennials, a line of annuals, a line of house plants, a line of cut flowers. And so the distribution network will obviously have to be much bigger than Raker. The reason that Raker has the exclusivity on it this year, well, my last name is Raker, number one. But number two is we need to keep that supply chain controlled because, like Jennifer mentioned, this product is the generation one, and she has some idiosyncrasies that make her less than easy. I don't want to say less than easy. She just has some special requirements from the production standpoint to get her to be commercially viable. And like I said, Jarvis and Ryan will touch on that a little bit later. So that's Raker Roberta's. Moss Greenhouses has been a tremendous partner since day one on this. They are located about an hour south of the developer, and so it was important for him to have access to a commercial greenhouse to see how this product actually reacted and grew in numbers, because him coming to Michigan every other week really isn't something that could actually happen. And then Jennifer Moss is a great friend of mine as well. And so when Keith was talking to me about who he was working with, he doesn't realize how small our industry is and that most of us all know each other in some way, shape, or form. I was excited to hear that he had talked to Jen, because Jen is a very creative person, way more creative than I am. And having her on board with this product has been very influential in how we're bringing it to retail, because this product needs special attention at retail because it looks like a white petunia during the day, but it's the coolest thing I've ever seen at night. So strategies for retail are very important, and that is how Moss is involved. They are also one of our network growers, so have product available for independent garden centers for spring of 2025. Ball Seed. Wow, how is Ball involved? Well, I don't know if you guys know it or not, but we kind of made the cover of Time magazine in the beginning of November. And my approach to crawl, walk, jog, run, and then sprint with this product kind of got thrown at the wall, because you've got to strike while the opportunity is there. And Time magazine obviously gave us an opportunity. So I brought in the Ball Seed team to help distribute liners out of Raker to broaden our reach, because it was there. So that is Ball. If you have an interest in liners, please contact your favorite Ball rep, because we have them available. Greenfuse Botanicals. The reason that Greenfuse is on this slide is because Jim Devereaux, who's one of the co-owners of Greenfuse, is actually my business partner in Rooted in Solutions. And he is a big part of that domestic supply chain. To produce unrooted cuttings in a greenhouse in the United States is very not cost effective. It is cost inhibitive. And I needed a way to do numbers fast. And Jim owns a state of the art tissue culture lab in California, and he was quick to jump on board. So Jim that's how Greenfuse Botanical is involved. They're also very involved in helping us further the product development of this product. So at this point, these are 6 of the core companies that have worked to bring Firefly to where it's at today. And we have big plans for the future. We just need to get through spring of 2025 and learn what we don't know, because there is so much we don't know about this plant yet. So I think I've talked that to death, and I think I'm going to toss the presentation back over to Jen.
Okay. All right. So I'm actually going to tag you in, but let's talk about the soft launch. I'm going to let you start with Light Bio Rick Roberta.
So what have we learned? So in 2024, we did a soft launch. I talked briefly about the e-commerce portion, which was the primary driver in 2024. And my paradigm was shifted multiple times. And I'll tell you about that. And remember that my roots are in greenhouse production. That is what I know inside and out. So when the team from Light Bio came to me and we decided the best way to get this product to market quick was via e-commerce. The website was made. We had gained a lot of organic press. People were very excited about this product. We were in CNN. We were on the Vice channel. We were on NPR. I mean, the list is endless about the amount of free PR we got, which drove a lot of traffic to the Light Bio site to purchase this. When I spoke to Keith about what he wanted to sell this for, I wish you all could have seen the look on my face, because I was like, you want to sell it for $29.99 plus shipping? You're looking at $50 to $60 a 4-inch pot. And he goes, yeah. And mind blown, but it's his product and his commitment to selling his product. And so we made that happen. And it blew my mind, because we blew through our forecast 4 times. So what did that tell me? It told me that this is an interesting product that people are very, very curious about. And, 120,000 pots, we haven't even broke or scratched the surface of what the potential is for bioluminescent plants, which is why this 2025 spring season is going to teach us a lot as well. So we distribute 120,000 plants, those sold at $29.99 plus shipping. When you're shipping a soft product like a petunia or vegetables, it can't go slow boat to China. It has to have some priority shipping. And so shipping was 2 to 3 day, depending on location from Raker, which added another $15 to $30 a pot, depending on where this person is located. We had 47,705 individual orders, and 54% of those orders were for more than 2 plants. So that tells you that price, or I guess it's not what tells you. What it told me is that price isn't a concern here, because they're going after the new. So that being said, I know that there have been a lot of questions in regards to the high cost on this thing. And I understand that probably more than most, but at the same time, it is a brand new product. There is nothing to compare it to. We're trying to break a mold moving forward. And so I just wanted to share some of that evidence that there is demand for this product, even at a high cost. And then I'm going to let Jen talk to you a little bit about what she did in brick and mortar.
Oh, I had the same reaction Susie did when Keith's telling me, well, I need you to match the online price of $29.99. And I was like, for a plain white petunia? You gotta be nuts. So I completely understand the sentiment, the skepticism. So what we did, oh gosh. So the whole team was skeptical, to say the least. And it was about Mother's Day week, and we're like, crap, we got to do something. How are we going to sell a plain white petunia in the daytime for $30 a piece? So our retail manager and I kind of brainstormed. We said, well, let's have an event at night. So what started as a brainchild of, let me have a guy with a guitar, two food trucks, we'll start around 7, and we won't let people into the greenhouse until 10 because the sun's going down about 9:15. It's going to take another hour for it to get dark. Now, to give you guys an idea of where we sit in Idaho, the town of Jerome, Idaho, where we are located, is about 12,000 people. Twin Falls is across the bridge about 10 miles away where I live. That's about 50,000 people. We're 2 hours from Boise, 3 hours from Salt Lake. There's not a huge population base here. Well, I made some calls to my contacts. We ended up getting on the Boise KTVV station, and they quoted me as saying straight out of Avatar. And holy crap, they showed up in droves. We had 1,200 people show up, and what was a guy with a guitar suddenly was a full band, 6 food trucks, a full bar. We had axe throwing, and then our last piece of the event that we threw together at the end was fire spinning in the parking lot, which ended up being the show, if you will. And people came in, and we had them in 6-inch round pots, and then we had them in 4-inch squares. We were trying to figure out what the perceived value on a white petunia that allegedly glows in the dark would have with the public. We only had about 2,000 plants ready, so we were like, oh, how are we going to get through the event? So we put a 3-plant limit on everything. And let me just show you guys. We sold 1,500 plants in 4 hours. Clearly, not letting them in the greenhouse till 10 p.m. was not going to work. So we opened up the greenhouse right at 7 when the event started. But let me cut to a video showing you guys what we did. All right, so we know how to throw a party at Moss. That's a good takeaway. But what you are seeing in these photos, so we do throw some big events in our retail, and thank you for the compliment from Susie. Events is what my love is. I just happen to run a greenhouse. That wasn't ever my original plan, and so I get to have a little bit of my event planning love in the middle of all this. So what was the crazy part about what you're looking at, that top shot? There's 250 people in line for that product. They came, they went straight to the line and waited to get their Firefly Petunia. We were only letting 20 people in the greenhouse at a time. And then the trailer you saw in the video with all those white petunias was actually a trailer full of stock plants so that folks could still view the Firefly once the sun went down out in the parking lot. And so we were trying to think of all the different ways that we could really show people how to see this product and really get to experience it. And we were just blown away at the attendance. If you see at the bottom shot, what you're seeing for there, and this is a tip for anybody who's doing any kind of event or viewing, we had red LED tape lighting on the floor, and we did beta testing for a couple of nights before this. So if you ever are running any kind of an event that goes into night, plan to spend a couple evenings prior to the event there so that you can work through any of the bugs and really find any little pieces you might need. The first set of lights we brought in didn't work, and thank God we had enough time. Now, what does it all matter? It matters for the value, right? Profits realized we made over $50,000 that night alone. So this can show you that even though this is the first time it ever hit the market, and you guys are going to have that opportunity in any of your different locations anywhere in the country, you have the opportunity to really make this really work in the sense that the public probably hasn't seen this product. So what can you do that'll be fun? So we'll get into that on a later slide, but what I can tell you is in Little Jerome, Idaho, it can work. So it can work anywhere. All right, so what's the market and opportunity? Because that's really what matters in this. So let's dive right into that. So we're going to go through what is the value on the bench. Let's talk about the price skepticism. Really, the opportunity to upsell with hard goods, which most of you know better than the rest of us. And then we have found that the Firefly customer is not our traditional garden center customer. So this is an opportunity to get different people through your door. And then events to impress. I will stress that had Moss not done this event, I don't know what the success would have been with this product. And because we stepped out of the mold, we didn't just have some 10 to noon seminar on a Saturday like all the rest of us are used to. We really had great success because we rethought it. We did something different. All right, I'm going to hand over to Susie for profitability model. She has really broken this down for you guys.
All right. So like I said, I know that there's a lot of price skepticism out there. I get it. I live it every day. But that being said, because of what we're trying to do here, I feel like Firefly is the first product in a very long time that gives the opportunity for every person in our industry that touches this plant, from tissue culture to liner to wholesale grower to retailer, to make a couple extra pennies. I will say pennies, even though it's bigger than that, per square foot in your facility. These numbers turned out very, very small on this slide, and I apologize for that. We will follow up with a hard copy of this presentation as well as the recorded copy with everybody that's attended. But at the end of the day, I took a Firefly Petunia and I took a Cascadia Petunia because it was one of the more expensive petunias from an input standpoint. And I did a cost comparison showing estimated margins. And although the margin percentages are basically the same across the board here, the opportunity in regards to selling 200, if you sold 204 Firefly Petunias in a 4-inch pot at $29.99 with a 5% loss, you have the opportunity to make $2,500 on that. That is not revenue. That is margin. It's huge for 204 petunias compared to, say, a Cascadia petunia, which is also expensive, relatively speaking. For that same comparison, selling 200 plants of a Cascadia petunia in a 4-inch pot, you have the opportunity to make $850. And so there really is no comparison there in regards to the potential that Firefly has for your bottom line, whether you are a wholesale grower finishing this and selling it to retailers or a retailer themselves. Now, that being said, I understand there are the risk is huge with Firefly. Not trying to discount that one bit. I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. I get that. It's a new product. People don't know it. I'm still scared of it, and I've been playing with it for 18 months. And so I get that. But for us early adopters, when you talk about a product life cycle, people that are getting in this first year, us early adopters of this product have a real opportunity to make some real decent money taking this risk. And I guess that pretty much describes it. And like I said, we will email this out after the presentation so you can actually maybe dive into those numbers and say, Susie, you're full of it, and I'm fine if you think I'm full of it. But I can tell you that I based the numbers off of raker operating costs. And since we are a young plant producer, our cost per square foot is way more expensive than a traditional wholesale grower. So there's actually, I believe, a bunch of upside in this. So anyway, Jen, back to you.
Okay, well, and I can tell you ours is more expensive than Raker's. So Moss will tell you that. So what I can tell you is we will be retailing this in Jerome, Idaho for $44.99 this year. Okay, guys, and that's a full markup off of my full list wholesale price. And I'm not scared of it because the public wants it and the product will look good and we will make sure that it's taken care of well. And we're going to set the customer up for success. All right, so we did try 2 different approaches. So we've kind of covered a lot of this, but Idaho, we're rural. I don't have a large population base anywhere, and it really made a difference. And people came out. They drove from Boise, they drove from Elko, Nevada, they drove from Salt Lake. They came out for this. Now, we didn't charge to get into the event. We just made it free for people. Like, obviously, food trucks don't cost us anything. The bar, they were just selling all their drinks. I did pay for security because we had some stock plants. We wanted to protect them. We did pay for porta potties. We paid for the staff to work it. We paid for the band. We paid for the axe throwing. That's what we paid for. All the rest was profit realized from selling the petunias. So direct to consumer, Susie did go through that, but do you have anything else you want to add to that, Suze?
Not really. I can touch on what the plan is for 2025 when we get a little bit further along in the presentation.
We'll pop along. But we made it a point to take pictures of every customer because we wanted to see the excitement. Don't be afraid to bring in somebody marketing and watch your event and how it goes. Take pictures, learn things, take notes, have a debrief with your team before or after the event to see what you could do differently for the next year. But there's a huge opportunity here, and I will go into that here in a few slides. Upselling. Okay, so you guys have heard us kind of mention Petunia as a house plant. If you've seen any of our other presentations, and we haven't even really gotten into that quite yet, but set the customer up for success. They are investing into this product, right? They're spending anywhere from 30 to 45, maybe even $50 for one of these petunias. How are they going to do the best job to take care of this thing? Because the trick is, the happier she is, the brighter she glows. So you've really got an opportunity here with your customer to educate them how to fertilize, how to properly care for the product, how to properly trim. Self-watering pots for this baby, definitely the way to go. If it's inside, of course. And then having supplemental lighting so that that product really grows really well for the customer. And then setting them up with food. Now, at our retail, we've brought in those little sample packets of the petunia feed to send with each person who buys a Firefly Petunia, because we want them to come in and buy more fertilizer and buy more plants. The only way that they can do that is if they run out and their feet have to take them into the garden center. So set yourself up for success. The team at Jack's, they have those little sample packets. They're happy to sell them to you. They come in a big case so you can set yourself up for success. So really, don't be afraid to sell a petunia as a houseplant. I know I feel crazy saying that to a whole bunch of people who are in the industry, but I will say this. We did have an event. Actually, let me pop to the next slide because we're going to talk about events. So, actually, I'm going to hand it to Susie, and then we'll come back to the event that we had at Edwards.
It's a perfect lead in. I'm impressed,
yes,
Jen.
It
you
is.
didn't even know you were doing it. So, we've said this over and over and over again that Firefly attracts a different type of customer. Well, I always want proof. I want data. That's how my life works. That's how my mind works. And so I worked with the team at Light Bio and I said, all right, prove this to me that this is attracting a different type of customer. And so I've got two things to share with you. Now, granted, I take this with a grain of salt because it is literally 1 year's worth of data. So this will change over time. But just looking in Indiana, which is what this map depicts, on the left side, I took the data from customers. We ship traditional petunias to e-commerce. I'm talking waves, I'm talking cascadias, I'm talking petunias that don't glow in the dark. And if you can see how this is spread, these little colored dots indicate penetration into a market. I will say it's volume based. But this one on the right is the Firefly data from 2024 e-commerce. And if you can see, and it actually sweeps up into Chicago here, you can see that the majority of this product, at least in the spring of 2024 via e-commerce, went to more populous city areas, which indicates to me that we are targeting a different type of customer here. And we haven't even begun to target our traditional customer, which is obviously going to have interest in this product as well. So there's a little bit of anecdotal data to show that we are touching and embracing and engaging with a different type of customer, which is good for everybody because our boomers are dying and we need people that want to buy plants. And then to tie into Jen's comment on a petunia as a houseplant, yes, I laughed too. But I scoured through our Light Bio social media pages, and there's lots of great information and intel you can find there. But of those, based on the photos of people posting product that they had purchased via e-commerce or wherever, there's an indicator that 60% of these people are using this as a houseplant. Who would have thought? So we extrapolated that data out, and that's what those pictures on the left show are people, how people are using their Firefly Petunia. Now, I have a million different stories from people that have tried the product and how they are utilizing it. My old parents, I have very old parents. I hope they're listening and I hope they're flipping off the screen right now because that is what they would do. But they like using the Firefly Petunia as a literal living nightlight. They like to set it on their nightstand at night because they're up and down through the night, and it's a great way to wake up when you have to go to the restroom or go get a glass of water. So anyway, there's a little bit of that. Jen, that's all I had.
Don't mind my technical difficulties. Okay, so we actually, so at Moss, we did Illuminate the Night. Feel free, if anybody wants to steal that tagline, it's yours. We are not keeping anything sectioned to Moss. We want to share any and all ideas. But hosting events around this creates the buzz. It gets you involved in your community. Don't do the same thing you've always done. I cannot stress that enough. There is such an opportunity here. So I'd be happy to share with anyone what we did actually this January at the Idaho Horticulture Expo. We did a mini Illuminate the Night, but we called it Firefly Nights. And we worked with Edwards Greenhouse up in the Boise area because that's where the Idaho Horticulture Expo lives, if you will. And we sold completely out. And we threw a huge party. Now, what was involved with that? We took some ideas that we had from the Moss Greenhouses Illuminate the Night. We had axe throwing in the greenhouse. They were greenhouse safe axes. They were plastic from Costco, but it worked. We had a live band. We had a live painter. We had a little phone booth, for lack of a better description, that you could step into and view it. We had a winery there. We had a full charcuterie spread for 250 people. We had photo opportunities. We made sure that the event modeled as much as what Moss did as possible so that you could really experience what we did at Moss, because that's what we knew. But this is your opportunity to work with your staff and see what do they see at other events that they love? What do they see at the county fair that they love? What about the music festival, the country music festival that they want to? What is something from those events that they could bring to your event? And so these were just a couple of ideas that I put together at the bottom. Feel free to steal anything you want, all right? And I am here for brainstorming as well, but fire dancing, moon party, a garden party at night. If you wanted to have yoga in the greenhouse, and have it in the dark, because that could be fun, and have planters of fireflies around. When we had this event at Edwards, we actually sent everybody home with a Firefly Petunia, and I probably had 100 different people stop me the next morning because they had it in their bathroom in their hotel room, and they went to go to the bathroom and it's just lighting up. So it really does come down to people need to see the magic. Now, that said, we were working on a box with one of the suppliers in the industry to get something easy for you guys to just bring to your greenhouse. That has not quite come to fruition in the timeline we were hoping for. However, we are working on schematics for that. Susie's nodding her head because her team's helping us put that together. And we are going to post those on plantsthatglow.com so that your team can print it off, get the materials, put it together so that you have something in your garden center where people can step in and really experience the magic of Firefly. Do you want to add to that, Susie? Perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hop to the next slide. Sorry about the whiplash I gave everybody. All right, so let's talk about, yes, we made the cover of Time. That was really, really cool. Susie and I were actually in Idaho together when we found out we even made the list. And then when we found out that those are Raker and Moss Greenhouse's plants on the cover of Time magazine, we're blown away. We don't know if there's ever been plants on the cover of Time except in the background of a photo. And I really don't know the answer. But we did make the cover of Time. So we are toting that in the POP that I'm going to show you on the next slide. We also have put Best Inventions of 2024, the little badge on some of the POP as well. So you can use that. And if you go to Time's store on their website, you can actually buy a framed copy of the cover of Time. That's the easiest, safest, with all of Time's lawyers, way to do it, but do it however is best for you. I will say one little thing. There is an influencer campaign and a social media campaign that will be going out through Light Bio. Their team will be managing that. But I do want to make some special attention to something called Order Ease. So Order Ease is a product that is available on the market, that is new, that John Kennedy and his team are working with. And what it is basically a in-between for any independent garden center who has an e-commerce option or the ability to set up a Shopify or WooCommerce. What we're doing with this is Moss Greenhouses is going to be one of the test models for this, as well as Raker. So I'm going to put together a WooCommerce store on our website so that if I'm out of Fireflies, somebody can go to our website, or say they're a couple of hours away and they just don't want to drive over to Moss Greenhouses. They can go on our website and order that Firefly and it will directly ship out of Raker. So if anybody's interested in that Order Ease program, it's just setting up that WooCommerce or that Shopify store. And if you've already got it, it's just an easy add-on to the store. And then Raker Roberta will actually be the fulfillment. And I think Susie can speak to that a little bit.
Well, and this is it's some exciting new technology because
It is.
gives access to fulfillment for garden centers, which may not be a skill set that they employ. And it's also an opportunity to generate additional revenue because you can reach outside your current customer reach. And obviously you'll be able to add margin to the product, etc. And so stay tuned for that because we are working fast and furious to have that up live for 2025 for any independent garden centers that are interested in that option.
Absolutely. And if anybody is a little hesitant to have too much inventory on your bench or doesn't feel that they have qualified enough staff on hand to really manage the program, this is an excellent option for you to be able to still supply Fireflies without having to babysit them in the store, or to have a backup option in case you sell out because you just did such an excellent job. So we've got both those options for you. There is some top secret projects happening in the background. They're going to be very exciting when they happen. We don't want to spoil it, but we are working in the background to get this product as visible as possible out into the real world. All right, so let's jump to POP. So we have been working hand in hand with MasterTag. So please do write down these emails. This is the full ordering form to kind of give you guys an idea. We did put some kits together. We based the extra large off of Moss Greenhouse's model, sold 1,500 plants in one evening. And then we kind of scaled down from there. All of these can be ordered both a la carte as well as a package. So we did put those together based on that. But Tara and Lori are both of our contacts there. If you would like to order Firefly Petunia signage, this is where you go. Now, like I said, there's several different options here. We went with the flower you will love the most, of course, going off of Light Bio. She comes to life at night, watch me glow, and I glow in the dark. We're trying to simplify the message for the end consumer because this thing has to sell itself. Now, what I don't have on this slide is some really sexy tags that Raker will send with the plants. Do you have one with you? They are holographic. They sit up on a riser out of the cup. For the grower these will come with the product and they look good. It's a sexy tag, guys. We needed a sexy tag. Go ahead and say it.
I would like to comment on the POP materials. Working through this has been a learning experience to say the least, but I actually spoke with the Master Tag team there. So people that have been ordering the POP, etc., it is going to production. So you will have it within 2 weeks. So that should make some people happy.
It looks really good, guys. We had some at the Edwards event. We got all of ours. We were actually the first model. I know Susie just got her set over a Raker, and they look good. They look really good. And if you take the time to work to get your logo on it, you can have everything customized for you. I don't think it'll be any problem for the Idaho and the colder markets. But some of these markets that are going to market, yeah, just get on it. These two are your contacts. If you have any questions, let us know.
I also wanted to note that QR code that is on the tag, as well as all of that POP, it points to a website that shows a video of the product glowing. Because, you know, that's my biggest concern for retail, and it might not be the most important, but it's mine, is how do you show what this product does? And so we're trying to come up with as many possible solutions as possible to help the consumer understand what this product does. That QR code also points to a website that gives very thorough care instructions on how to take care of it.
Perfect. All right, I'm going to jump into care. So this is Ryan and Jarvis, and we're going to talk about caring for a Firefly Petunia. So I'll jump right into it. That's you, sir.
All right. Well, one thing you're going to notice when you get her, she's going to have a little bit lighter foliage color. It's going to be a little more of a yellowy green or light green, and a little bit of mottling on that. That is normal. If anybody's dealt with any Tospo virus, it kind of leans toward that. Don't freak out. It's very subtle, especially with the newer ones, I've noticed. But she doesn't like stress, so if we can keep her from stressing and feed her at a higher parts per million, 250, that's going to help solve that modeling problem. That's what I have found.
Okay. And so let me jump into the next slide, which is really the culture information. So light will help no matter where you're at. In Idaho, we have very high light levels, but not during the winter. It's still dark here, so it really does matter to have that extra light. I think Susie and Jarvis would speak to that. Jarvis, you've got unmuted. Yeah. I'm gonna let you talk.
Yeah, I'll jump in here. So Firefly it's one of the most cool plants to work with. Even with our interaction with it for the past year and a half, the newness never wears off. It's such a cool plant. So, you know, it's really easy to be inspired by it, just to be in awe of it. But like Ryan said, like Jen has said, there are some differences to this plant. Don't reinvent the wheel. It is a petunia. So pH monitoring, EC level measurements, those are all good to do on a weekly basis during the growing process. You want to make sure that it's kind of like a Goldilocks plant. You don't want it to be too acidic, too basic. Same with moisture levels. If you can kind of alternate between on the dry side to getting a good moisture level to the bottom of the pot, that's good, but nothing too extreme. Also, it's not what we'd call a bench run plant. So luckily, all the genetics on the market these days are so improved. They're all cookie cutters. You know, if you're growing 1,000 Vista bubblegum or Easy Wave or Headliners, you're going to expect nearly 100% take at your scheduled time. Firefly, her schedule is a little bit more independent. So if you're planning for a certain sales date, maybe 70-75% of the plants are going to be ready for that target date. Another 20% might be ready in 10 days, and the remainder, they might take up to 2 weeks longer. So, you know, the amount of time it takes to grow it, it's just not quite as pre-programmed as a traditional vegetative plant.
I'd like to add to that comment real quick, Jarvis. So one thing we are working on from a product development standpoint is getting this to be, we know the expectation of this industry. I have the same expectation of genetics when I put them into production at Raker. We know what the expectation is. And from a product development standpoint, the team at Rooted in Solutions is working very, very, very hard to get improvements on this genetic as well as to introduce new varieties. And the first improvements that have to come, it's not to improve the glow in the dark. It already glows in the dark. But it's for the commercial viability. It's to get it better bench run, to clean up some of those foliage issues, to make her more like a traditional petunia that we are used to seeing. I just wanted to add that thought.
Yep, absolutely. And like Ryan also already mentioned, you're going to see some growth that for a typical petunia, it may cause concern, if you're thinking viruses. It is part of the nature of Firefly. A happy, healthy growing plant will glow the best. Jen already touched on that earlier. It is best to try and program the plant so that you're selling it as a budded plant. It doesn't have to be full of open blooms. The most active, brightest growth is in that flower bud just as it's ready to unfurl. Once the flowers are completely open and several days old, they start to age and the glow will diminish then. So if you're scheduling an event for June 10th, you want to schedule the plants so that they're going to peak right at that time. It's not something you'd want to bring in, a month earlier and sell for 4 weeks and, try and open it up. The plants do respond very well to pinching. If some get a little bit long in the tooth, you can shear them back and that new active growth will spring forth within a couple weeks. And wherever it's actively growing, that's where the brightest glow is going to be as well. So the plants are somewhat resilient. But again, there's just a little more variability than you would expect with today's commercial varieties.
Yeah, we will second that. That was great advice, Jarvis. Thank you. We do have this is actually exactly to Jarvis's point. The picture that's right in front of you, that was taken in complete dark with time lapse. So the buds are what's popping out of the picture and glowing. And so that is 100% accurate. There is a consumer care sheet on plantsthatglow.com that is available for all retailers to print out. And then there is also a culture guide for any grower. Ryan's, we'll actually jump right to the slide here. Oh, and one other thing, visualization and display. You guys know how to do this better than most of us because a lot of you are retailers on the call. Don't be afraid to build a dark room, use mirrors to accentuate the glow, but put your best creative minds on it. Just remember that it is a petunia. So if you have them in the dark during the day so the consumer can see it, make sure that you put lights on them at night so they continue to grow. All right, that's the only thing I would really say there. Do you want to add anything to that, Jarvis?
No, that sounds right.
Okay, perfect. It's not very often that we have something so fun to sell. So I really do want to stress that you can have a lot of fun with this. And as you see in this picture, what you really are seeing glowing is the buds. Now with that, photography tips, we will have a how-to guide on how to view it, as well as how to photograph it, because everybody wants to be able to take a picture with their phone. And so with that said, we're working on a iPhone guide, and then all those who are anti-iPhone, myself included, on how to take it on an Android device. And then teaching the customer how to view this thing, because when we think about our eyeballs, we're just thinking about getting used to the light. It takes 4 to 6 minutes for your body to totally adjust with your eyes to darkness to be able to view this thing sometimes. And as the breeder was teaching me in January, our body actually goes through a process that's 15 to 20 minutes when we adjust to the darkness at the end of the day. And so it's really easy for us to see it a lot faster at night because we've gone through that biological process. So we're preventing the dumbass attack of the customer because we all know we're going to have some of those. So having a guide for the consumer that goes home with every Firefly that says, here's how I view it. Here's how I take a picture with it, so that we can kind of prevent those complaints is what we're doing for you guys. We'll have those on the website in the next few weeks, and that will be on plantsthatglow.com. You want to add to that,
And-
Suze?
Yes, I was going to say, if I had a quarter for every person that says it doesn't glow, I would be rich because of the fact that your eyes do need to adjust and they're coming out of a bright greenhouse or outside at noon when the sun is the brightest. So that is something that often gets said, and it has nothing to do with the plant. The plant glows all the time, 24/7, 365. It has to do with our bodies and how our bodies perceive light. So we will, like I said, we are going to work on that guide. We should have something soon to share with you so that you can make sure that your consumers see the magic as well. And really what it takes is patience, which us as human beings lack a lot of, myself included. The other thing I wanted to touch on, and sorry, Jen, if I'm stealing your thunder here.
Okay.
We need feedback from you guys desperately. So Jen talked about having events and, take what Jen did and make it your own, or come up with something completely different and out of the box. But we want to know about these because the only way that we get better and make this program better and keep products coming out to fill the pipeline is by getting feedback from you guys. And so we want it, good, bad, or ugly. We're also at Cultivate this year in Columbus. We are going to be having a celebration of Firefly, but we're also going to be highlighting some of these events and these resources to make other retailers, as they get on board, excited about it as well. So that was just a quick plea for feedback. I want it bad, good, whatever. I want the feedback. So please don't hesitate.
And we want to honor those who have really taken the events to the next level and done something really exciting, because I think it'll really make an impression on your own staff and your communities, but we want to hear about it for the Firefly story. And so with that, I'm going to hand off this slide to you, Suze, because finished plants and liners and e-commerce.
Yeah, so we've talked a lot about Firefly, how you can sell it, how it grows, the excitement around it. And if you can't tell, you're talking to 4 people that have fallen in love with a petunia. I will tell you, I've been doing this a lot, and I have had a lot of plants come across my desk. And if I see one more pansy that breeder tells me flowers 2 hours earlier than its competitors, I might shoot myself in the foot. And so to be involved in a product like this that is truly revolutionary, it's fun. It's reignited a fire in me in regards to this industry. And I hope some of that rolls off onto you guys as well, because it's fun to be excited about something in this industry, because we have a really tough job and we run really tough businesses, and opportunities like this don't come every day. So quickly, let's talk about how you could get Firefly. So Rooted in Solutions has developed a grower network. The players in that network are Moss Greenhouses, Wanky Greenhouses, Sunbelt, Premier out of California, DS Cole up in the Northeast, Green Lake Nursery in Texas, and Bluma Farms out of Colorado. These people have product available for retailers that's retail ready, 4-inch pots. So you can contact them. Liner material is available through Raker Roberta's Young Plants. We have product on the bench if you need some now, or if you want some in a couple of weeks. Please purchase that through Ball's Seed Company. Also, Ball has been selling liners on our behalf, so I know that there are other wholesale growers out there with this product in their hands. So finished product isn't just from the grower network, but there's other options. Also, e-commerce. So e-commerce, we have expanded outside of Light.bio for spring of 2025. This product will be on Light.bio, Amazon, Nature Hills Nursery. Park has several brands, as well as QVC. The product form is different than the retail product line. It is also very limited in scope. So just so you're aware of that. I know there have been some concerns. I know people have been Googling the Firefly and seeing the price discrepancies, and I would like to talk to that point to hedge off any questions that might come. And the reason that there's a price point difference is because that product form was developed before we were even a figment of imagination on Time Magazine's cover. And when that happened, I had to move very quickly. I understand that those price discrepancies cause some concern, and I have every intention of fixing them going into fall of 2020 2025 and moving forward in 2026. A couple of things to put in your mind in regards to that is there's no freight included in those pricing, and that freight can easily add $20 to that, if not more. Also, those products that are being sold via e-commerce are not for resale. They're for the homeowner use. So I just wanted to touch on a couple of those things because I know I was going to get a question hurled at me.
And as you guys see on the screen there, like Bio will have a retail finder on their website, and then we are working to get this on Plants That Glow on the consumer section as well. So, oh, sorry, I got a dog barking. And then I need to just click to the next slide here. And it's not letting me do that. There we go. All right, and then here is all of our contact information. And then if anybody would like to open up for any questions, just unmute yourself, or we can put it into the chat, either way. It looks like I've got a couple of questions, or a couple of comments. We've got maybe a small flowered clematis. Think twinkling lights on a patio. That's an awesome idea, Rebecca. I hope you're doing really well. And then perhaps a geranium, an upright habit of a calliope or weeping habit of an ivy might be interesting in a combo. So ask away. Does anybody have any questions?
We did a great job. We killed it, Jen.
We killed it.
Nobody
We're
has
doing
any
great.
questions.
All right.
Hey, I've got,
shoot.
may I?
Let's hear it.
Please.
Yeah, so you've touched on, I've got several questions, but you've touched on a couple. The first one was just managing consumer expectations and addressing maybe any buyer's remorse. So I look forward to seeing, some more on that, but, back to the heat map or the market penetration. Is there anything that you can say about age and demographic? Because it's interesting that Chicago and the more populated areas, which would lend, itself to, assuming that younger patio situations, indoor situations, and things like that.
You are making the exact same assumptions that I am making, Ben, based on what I was curious about that because we've been saying that we're reaching a different customer. We're saying those things. And I didn't believe it because data is important to me. So when I actually graphed that data and put it on there, it did show a trend, and I will be very curious via e-commerce because that's where the data stems from. If that trend continues, I would make the same assumptions that you are making, that saying that Firefly went to metropolitan areas leans to a younger demographic that are utilizing this as an indoor houseplant in their apartments, their condos, what have you. So you're making the same assumptions that I am. I don't have anything to prove that, but I will do my best to find something.
Okay. A couple more real quick, if that's okay. And short form answers are fine. Cost going down in the forecast?
Of course.
Of course.
As we continue to develop the product line, this price point we're at now, we know it is not sustainable, but we know it is achievable, at least in the short term. And so once again, being a risk taker and being an early adopter comes with benefits as well. The goal is to keep value in this product for as long as possible. I'm going to get on soapbox for a minute because that's what I do. And I'm an industry person at the core of who I am. When this product came across my desk, I lit up, no pun intended. But the reason that I lit up is because I saw an opportunity for our industry to make some decent margin for once without having to kill each other over quarters of a penny because of a begonia plug. And so I personally am going to work hard to maintain value, but I know that price needs to come down as well. Does that answer your question?
Absolutely. And then lastly, vendor, grower, any sort of in the field or virtual support for product knowledge training and or consumer training?
So Plants That Glow is a resource for commercial information. It's geared towards growers and retailers specifically. We do touch on the consumer, but that's really not who we're going after with that website. We also have a staff here at Rooted in Solutions to help with one-on-one brainstorming, cultural support, business questions, all of that.
Okay. Yep. Thank you.
Let me jump in real quick. What I found at our event was we had families with small children.
Yeah.
The children were so excited, more so than the adults, to get their hands on this plant. It wasn't your traditional gardener. It was the whole family. It was unreal.
I'll speak to that as well. I have a 13-year-old daughter that plants put food in her belly and clothes on her back, and she could care less about the greenhouse and the facility and all that, even though she grew up here. Now, if I'm coming over to the greenhouses at night, you sure can bet that that girl's going to be in the front seat with me because she thinks this is the coolest thing ever. She's got her whole school excited about it. So it's really an opportunity. That tells me, because my daughter is a pain in my butt and she is about as 13-year-old as a 13-year-old girl can be. And she loves this product. So
I would speak to the same thing, Ben. I have twin daughters who are hedging on 14 come Saturday, and they could care less about plants, but they think this is really cool. Okay, I think we've got a question here, Susie, about when for Express.
yep, I've got you. Somebody in the chat asked, what if the customer uses Express Seed Company primarily as their order form? We are working on the plans for how this product will come out in spring of 2026. The reason that Ball Seed was chosen in 2025 was because they're a good partner for us at Raker, and I needed to keep it controlled. I can tell you that from the outpouring of questions and the support that I have had to give to the Ball Seed team, I could not have handled more brokers in spring of 2025. I need to be able to build that network out and be able to support the product better. My goal with this product was to crawl, walk, jog, run a marathon, and then maybe do some sprints with it. But I went straight from crawling to sprinting because of the Time Magazine thing. And so I've got to control what I can control. And that's what I could control in spring of 2025. But we're working on what the distribution network will look like in spring of 2026.
And we hope to have answers by Cultivate for you, Linda.
We will have answers by Cultivate and hopefully before that.
Yes, hopefully. I've heard that the Firefly cannot have any nighttime light pollution. So to your point, Jesse, it will be best viewed with no light disruption. Yes, I actually had a gentleman approach me at Cultivate. He did the main drag in Chicago, which somebody on this call knows what that is. I don't. I don't live. There you go. There you go. The gentleman wanted to landscape the whole thing with fireflies, and I was like, "How much lighting is there?" And he's like, "Oh, it's very well lit." And I was like, "Don't waste your money. Like, just don't." And so, just being very intentional about where you're putting it. I also will stress that this is a container petunia. It is not good in ground yet. We're working on the breeding there, but it is a container petunia. So with that, you should be able to move it around. So I want to stress, like, light disruption will affect it. It has kind of the glow of a good full moon is the best way to say it. The next generations coming are brighter, but for right now, for Gen 1, it does not handle light disruption very well.
Yeah, it needs light during production time. It's only for viewing that it's best done with no light pollution.
Yep. All right, so can we repeat what we're competing against in e-commerce?
Yes, the product form for e-commerce that's going out into the marketplace is a 3-pack of 45 millimeter Ella pots, which essentially is a 2-inch, very small pre-finished pot. We did 4-inch in 2024, and we ran across shipping issues because this baby is a little bit of a light rooter. And at Raker Roberta's, we have great experience with Ella pots, and they do provide a boatload of protection in shipping. And that price was set way back in May. And it is limited availability. So there is a price discrepancy is what we're seeing and what we're up against. I just want you guys to know that I understand the issue that causes, and I am working hard and diligently to fix that moving forward. Just understand that this was put way in place before I even anticipated how we were going to go to market with the trade this year.
All right, and then when did you say was the best time to have the fireflies was before an event? Brandy, I might need you to help clarify that a little bit for me. I'm going to stop sharing the screen so you guys can see us so we can answer these questions. But I might need a little more clarity on that one, Brandy. Basically, what I can tell you is, to Jarvis's point, about 75% of the crop will be right on time, and then there'll be about 20 to 25% that'll trickle to be ready. So if you have a guaranteed sale of 1,000 plants, time that correctly. Or if you're trying to say, I'm having an event, I want, 1,000 plants ready, or whatever that number is, plan that accordingly. Do you want to add to that, Jarvis? Kind of how you want to say it the right way?
Sure. Yeah. So it is a moving target. Different times of the spring, the plant's going to grow at different rates, but just try and plan as much in advance as you can. So, like Jen said, if you want 1,000 pots for X date, maybe plant, 20% more than that, just to give you plenty of wiggle room. Or you could, have what's ready to market on that original date, and then put something back to your customers that, hey, you'll have limited numbers available in 10 days to 2 weeks. Come back and hook them up.
That's perfect. I know at our event, we actually, in case we ran out, we had another 1,000 plants that were right behind it, but weren't ready yet. We were prepared, and thankfully since we had the 3-plant limit, we didn't exceed it, but we were prepared to have a list and let people like buy them then, and we would write down their names, or we would call them when it was ready. We were prepared to have that backup option for folks. So don't be afraid of that. And you were going to say something, Susie.
Yeah, I just was gonna, I wasn't even gonna comment on that. I was gonna comment on the next question.
Oh, is it safe for deer? Go ahead.
Yes, this product is safe for deer. It is safe for wildlife. It is safe for dogs. It is safe for your cats. And the reason is that it is plant DNA that makes this thing glow, not animal DNA. So if a critter eats it, I promise you it will not glow because the DNA is not compatible.
At my
Also-
brother's house, it's got rock chucks have just demolished his, and the rock chuck poop will glow a little bit. So I bet half the people don't even know what a rock chuck is on this
I
call. but
don't
that's
know
okay.
what a rock chuck is, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, it's fine. It's a rodent.
Any moral hazard here? Well, Mark, how you doing, Mark? It's been a minute since we've had a chance to talk. Moral is to the person. For me, a lot of the questions in regard to genetically modified organisms are tied to crops that people eat. This is a crop for literal enjoyment only. That everybody asks, well, what's the point? I'm like, it's for enjoyment. It is for personal enjoyment and growth. So when it comes to moral hazard there, that question is one you need to answer for yourself. I can tell you that it has gone through rigorous testing because it had to get declassified by the USDA to be able to go through commercial production. And that it doesn't have an effect on the environment. It doesn't have an effect on wildlife. There is that process of getting a product through the USDA GMO certification is difficult, and there are a lot of questions that they ask in regards to that. I'm going to take this minute here because we're 12 minutes over. I want to take a minute just to say thank you for attending. We really appreciate your time and effort. And we hope we got you guys a little bit excited about this product. It has been a typical Michigan winter for us here where Raker Roberta's is located. And I am ready for spring to break. I am ready to see this product on retail shelves, and I'm excited to see where it goes. We appreciate you guys that are willing to take the risk on this and work with us as we try to do something a little bit different in the industry.
And for anybody who you want to share this webinar with, by early next week, we'll have it posted on plantsthatglow.com if anybody wants to rewatch it. And then we will have a hard copy of the presentation. And just keep an eye on things. Any of you are welcome to email any of us with any questions that you might have. We really appreciate you guys taking the time out to learn about Firefly. This is going to be an exciting year for Firefly, and it only is going to get more exciting. So please take notes, take a lot of pictures or videos of your event, and tell us what works and what doesn't. We want to hear it. Okay? All right.
And
with
on that note,
thanks, guys.
thank you.
Have a great day.
Thanks, everybody.